Come explore the No Strings Attached e-News online magazine. Our global array of authors inspire, delight, and educate with practical and entertaining articles. And with Focus On, we help producers of film, web series, and other video content attract a wider audience. Plus, your project can stream on Roku, Apple TV, Fire TV, and more with our media partners E360 TV and NETV. No Strings Attached e-News, focusing on human interest. Advertising available, nsaen.com.
Hi guys, CJ here. We currently have a few positions available for relationship managers. If you would like the opportunity to work in sports marketing, this could be it. The ABA is the largest pro league in the world and partnered with the AAU, representing over 700,000 athletes around the world. Building business relationships and helping bring new audiences to every business we're working with is the goal. You're not limited to one state or region. Businesses partnering with sports is always a win-win for the community. Sound interesting? Then drop us an email and get more information at jobs@aba1on1.club, and we'll get back to you right away.
You're listening to ABA One-on-One Podcast.
Hey guys, it's time for a new episode of ABA One-on-One.
Open up, yeah. Open up now. Open up. Open up, yeah. Open up. Open up now.
Hey guys, welcome back to another ABA One-on-One podcast. Wow, we got Glen Combs on today. The guy that, wait a minute, I almost forgot what they used to call you back in the day.
The rifle.
Yeah, that was it. The Kentucky rifle, was it?
Kentucky rifle.
Because it's long range shooting. Back before those days of Steph Curry and all those people. So I guess, this is pretty cool, man. I'm looking forward to chatting with you. Glen, I got Rick here with me as well, but Glen, welcome to ABA One-on-One, man.
Well, thank you.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah. Hey, Rick, go ahead and kick it off, man.
All right. Well, again, Glen, I really appreciate you coming on, and thanks.
Oh, yeah.
It's someone like me that has followed up growing up in the Roanoke area, but I left right after high school. Followed your career both in college and the pros, and it's just an honor for me. And I'd like for you to just tell us some things about early on, what really motivated and inspired you.
Yeah, well, my basketball career started in Kentucky. Of course, the nickname Kentucky Rifleman, and actually played at a small high school. Kentucky didn't have classifications. Small schools played the big schools, and I grew up in a real small place. But funny, we played against large schools like Wesley Unseld at Louisville Seneca. We managed somehow to beat them in my high school days. But anyway, my dad was my high school coach. He was not only my high school coach, he was the principal, and my mother was a teacher. So, and we lived about basically no more than 100 yards from the high school, and the gym, which was a little, you can imagine what the gyms were like in Eastern Kentucky and other places, kind of like Hoosiers. It was basically a Hoosier story with a Kentucky background. So that's how I got into it. And, I just, played, we didn't have other sports, didn't have football. It's too small. So just basketball was my life. And so, I went through school, kind of graduated early. A lot of people ask me, hey, how come Adolph Rupp didn't recruit you, Glen? Well, he really didn't. I graduated maybe a little earlier than I should. I was just 17. So he ended up recruiting another guy from Eastern Kentucky that lived close to me that didn't last long at Kentucky. So Virginia Tech and several other schools came calling, and I went to Blacksburg. Of course, Blacksburg, at that time was small, but the Coliseum was to me, it was really impressive. I mean, it was like 10,000 seats. To me, that was a big deal. So I just liked the whole situation at Virginia Tech, and wanted to go somewhere different than other kids around the Kentucky area went. It was either Kentucky and Moorhead, some of the smaller schools. I just wanted to go somewhere different and kind of blaze my own trail, and so that's how I ended up at Virginia Tech.
Wow, that's interesting. I know we had Butch Beard on.
Yeah,
he was talking about when he and Wes Unseld were at Louisville together, and
right.
And I could just imagine, playing no classifications. You playing the big schools. I know Louisville, Male, and a lot of those schools there around Kentucky.
Oh yeah,
unbelievable. But to play little small schools. They used to have one called Tate's Creek, I believe, and some other.
Oh, that's in Lexington, Tate's Creek.
Yeah, but they didn't back down. I told some stories about back there. I saw them played a couple tournaments, and they're playing people like Rasheed Wallace and people like that from Simon Gratz in Pennsylvania. Those kids, they laughed at them during warm-ups. But once the game started, they didn't laugh because they're backdooring them. All of them could shoot it, fundamentals sound.
Kentucky's basketball in Kentucky is like football in Alabama. I mean, basketball is the king.
Yeah.
And so, if you play basketball and you've had any degree of success, everyone remembers you in Kentucky, and it's just people they follow it, and it's high school basketball is not quite as exciting it was, say, back in those days, really because of the consolidation. A lot of the little rivalries between the local high schools have gone away, and of course there's so many more things for kids to do now than there was then, but still, it's basketball in Kentucky. And of course, they're having a terrible year at UK this year. So I kind of read a lot of the stuff about what's going on there. But everyone's all wrapped up in basketball in the state.
Yeah, I don't think not too many states, university states have the following that Kentucky has. They're unbelievable. The people they bring. Away games and stuff like that. Kentucky fans are.
Oh yeah, a big blue.
That's right. But listen, having played all 8, let's just jump to the ABA a little bit here. Playing all 8 years of the ABA.
That's amazing.
Talk a little bit about the talent level, and I know you can really talk about this about how it would match up on how it would unfold with the NBA. I think very good.
When I came out of Tech, I was drafted by San Diego in the NBA and Dallas in the ABA. And San Diego took Elvin Hayes that year as the first choice. So, I knew that there wasn't any money left. There wasn't much money to begin with. So I knew there wasn't going to be any money after Elvin got his cut. So I went to Dallas, and Cliff Hagan was the coach at Dallas, who you guys probably remember that name. Cliff Hagan was from Kentucky, played at Kentucky, and grew up in Kentucky. So he, talked to my dad, and so I ended up going to Dallas. But primarily, I think the reason that I ended up going to the ABA is basically because of the style of play. Which, ironically, if you look at the game now, some 40 or 50 years later than the start of the ABA, it's evolving into almost an ABA type concept with the spreading of the court, the 3-point shot, the premium of the 3-point shot, and all that sort of thing. So, but that was the driving. I knew my opportunity, would be better there with 3-point shots. So that's and the money in those days. I mean, it was insignificant. No matter pretty much what round you were drafted on, you weren't going to make much money. But the 3-point rule and was the big thing that steered me in that direction. And as far as the the level of talent. I remember one statistic that said when the two leagues merged, the first All-Star game, there was more ABA players on either the West or the East. I'm not sure. Than there was NBA guys. So there was just a lot of talent. I think guys got the opportunity to do a lot of individual stuff, one-on-one, showcase their talents more than they did, say, in the NBA at that time, where the style of play at that time was just throw it down inside and kind of stand around and wait for someone to make a move in the NBA. As opposed to the ABA, it was come down and pull up and shoot a three if if there's any doubt, go ahead and let it fly. So that was, but you got. I just remember, you've probably had many of the names on the show, but I mean, of course, the Dr. J, he was a big draw, and but you could just Zelmo Beatty. When I was in Utah,
I love Zelmo Beatty.
Zelmo Beatty was the headline guy, and great guy. He jumped over from the Hawks, but we won the ABA championship in 1971, and he was but we had a lot of other good guys too that went on and played a long time. Ron Boone was a name that played. He played for several years, even in the NBA. And then Willie Wise was another name that played a lot. So just a lot of guys that just had a lot of talent, and got an opportunity to play that had there not been an ABA, probably would have not been there.
Yeah, you're right.
When you played with Utah, was Dale Harris there?
No, when I played at Utah, what happened was I was in Dallas, and so we're playing, and it was like middle of the year, and we were playing in Salt Lake City, and I kind of knew. I think the PR guy for the Stars came up and asked me something to the effect of, what number you want to wear. So like, I'm figuring, well, there's something in the air. So I got traded that very night, and Bill Sharman was the coach. Of course, you remember Bill.
Hall of Famer,
Celtics, coached the Lakers, and he was a guy that it was kind of interesting because he brought the concept of shoot-arounds on the day of the game to the whole professional basketball. Nobody, used to do things like that. They'd get up, just hang around the hotel, and everything. But Sharman, he wanted all these players up and going to the gym every morning of the game, not doing much, but just, kind of get in a routine. So, guys used to complain, but we did that, and we went on and won the championship that year. And then Bill left that year right after that and went to the Lakers. Of course, you had Jury, West, Wilt, and Elgin Baylor all. And I remember them talking about his shoot-around concept. They bought into it. Even Wilt. But, that was he was my coach there for a year. And then Liddell Anderson was another guy that coached there. And Joe Mulaney, who was
I remember him.
Crazy Joe Mulaney, I think was his handle. Like mine was a Kentucky Rifle. This was Crazy Joe. But so those were the three guys there. I played for for over the course of the time for several characters. Vince Van Brederkoff, he was a real character. I played for him for a little while, and of course Cliff, and those are some of the names that I remember from.
That's a definite impressive list, no question about that. But Bill Sharman, I've read a lot about. He said he was really he played. I think he coached. He may even coached the Celtics. I know he played for him. He coached the Lakers, but you're right.
He coached the Lakers. I don't think he ever coached the Celtics, but he was, he was kind of ahead of his time for that as far as coaching, in that era.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, that's so interesting.
Hey, being called the Kentucky Rifle, what a name. Just curious, was there a time that you kind of led the league in shooting?
Yeah, I led the league either 2 or 3 years in 3 point percentages.
Yeah.
Most made versus attempted. So, matter of fact, I get these trading cards. It's pretty interesting to see how many people out there still follow the ABA and
Oh,
this
yeah.
trading card. And I get several trading card requests, a week sometimes when I'm home. Sign that. But anyway, I led the league in 3 point shooting for I think it was 3 years, and then Louis Dampier was in there. Dampier and myself. I think
We
maybe
had
Rick.
Rick Barry.
Barry wasn't a 3 point. He never led the league in 3 point shooting. He may, I think he probably led it in other categories, but not in 3 point shooting.
No, but I think he. I said I think he led the league in scoring for a couple years.
Yeah, he could have.
Because he was one of those transcended guys that went from the ABA to the NBA.
He did.
Switched leagues a couple times.
Yeah, he did. He came over, and that was a big, that was his jumping along with maybe a couple more guys, Elmo being one. And I've forgotten, but they were that was the big news at the time was those guys, moving over from the NBA to the ABA.
Wow.
But I think we had the talent, but we didn't have the television contract, so that was the eventual problem that we had, that we couldn't make it totally. It's because of the the lack of television revenue.
Yeah, I always kind of wondered about that because the ABA to me, being a kid growing up watching back then, the ABA was so much more exciting, and the NBA wasn't that big. Like it just wasn't. And in my neighborhood, when you could watch an ABA game, more people watched the ABA than watching the NBA. And I was always so curious, why the ABA just didn't take over. It was, I know it's more to it than just looking at it and wishing, but I always found that pretty amazing that with all that talent and all those eyes around America was on the ABA, that it just didn't blow up.
Well,
Yeah.
like Glenn said, the TV.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm wondering why the TV did not say this is more exciting and go that way.
Well, I think the NBA, they just had, so much more. Well, first of all, I think financially, the people that owned the NBA teams were probably, as a general rule, had deeper pockets. But
Yeah.
it's just tough to get at that time there wasn't all the networks there is now either. It's basically a 3-network world then. So just to try to get someone to, put the ABA on and knock off the NBA was just didn't work. And that was that was what everyone kept hoping. Hey, we're gonna every year it's like, we're gonna get a contract this year. And I remember one time I was playing in the All-Star game, and then there was talk, and I think that particular game was televised. I don't know who picked it up, but there was like, hey, let's boycott because we need to get a television contract, so forth and so on. Nothing like that happened. We played, but that was always an issue in making the league go.
Wow.
Yeah. Also, Glenn, I think you know this as well. The ABA was a lot regional. Because I know, for example, the Carolina Cougars, they had a bunch of guys from North Carolina, from Duke, from big schools, Virginia. And I know the main reason for that was to draw fans.
Right.
But I always thought that was pretty interesting. I saw a lot of Carolina Cougar games, and their whole team would be either North Carolina, South Carolina, or Duke, practically.
The Squires. Now, when I played just a little bit with the Squires at the end of my career, but I mean, they started out with that same concept, regional concept. They even played in Roanoke a few games. I don't know if you ever caught a game there or not, Rick.
I did. I saw the first game I saw was in Roanoke.
Is that right? Okay. Because some people around town still kind of like what you're saying. They say, hey, Glenn, I saw one of those guys. I remember Dr. J when he came to town. I saw all the first games. But, the Squires had, Richmond and Roanoke and Hampton and Norfolk. And then they kind of popped Roanoke out of the picture and then just went with Richmond and, Norfolk and Hampton. But,
Newport News. That was amazing. That was amazing. Tell us a couple of stories, Glenn, a couple of bizarre stories. I know I read that book, Loose Balls, and they have some stories in there, but I know you've got one or two.
I can't tell stories like Ron Perry.
Ron Perry's, hey, Glenn, Ron Perry's where I got that saying, never let the truth stand in the way of a good story.
Yeah, he told me to ask you if you remember the time that you all had a game of horse and he won your wrist.
Yeah, when we had him on his show, Glenn, we talked about that. He won I had a Triumph Spitfire in my class ring. Something else he won from. He gave it back to me, but I think he was very reluctant.
I told him, I said, well, I can't imagine that because I know Rick had to be a better shooter than you. I've seen you shoot. He didn't like that very much.
Yeah. He had those long arms. He'd go behind the backboard and jump out behind the baseline and lay it and call a bank shot, and I never could make that.
Yeah, he was a great teammate in college and pros. He we had at Virginia Tech, and we had some really good teams at Tech during that era, but we kind of had, like you see now, we kind of had a three-guard offense. Ron was really a small forward, but we just kind of spread the court and played kind of a fast break style of ball. But he was a guard that was playing small forward, but he could do it. And because, like you say, Rick, with his long arms, he could cover a lot of territory.
Yeah.
But geez, I don't know. The ABA, we had so many characters. You could tell. If you had time to stop back and think about, that's been a long time. If I had to stop and think about some of those guys, I just remember. I remember this guy, poor guy, died in one of those plane crashes out of New York. Wendell Ladner was his name,
Yep.
but he was just a guy from Mississippi, but strong as an ox, and loved to fight and dive. They used to call him. He'd come out he had the mustache and all the good looks. So he was on these different magazines and everything. But he came out one time, I remember, before the game, he and I were shooting. He was playing for Babe McCarthy at that time. And he could never remember my name was Combs. He kept calling me Comb. And he said, hey, Comb, he said, I'm going to kill Babe. That was, his coach. And I said, what's the matter? He said, well, Sports Illustrated, Babe McCarthy was talking about Wendell to Sports Illustrated. And he said, Wendell doesn't know the meaning of the word fear. He said, but come to think of it, Wendell doesn't know the meaning of a lot of words. Well, that didn't go very well. He was in a fighting mood after that. But, we did, we all used to rent cars at that time. We'd go into a town and instead of having a T-bus, we might rent 4 or 5 automobiles, and, to get to the hotel. And we always had, some kind of automobile incident somewhere along the way. And I remember one time when I was with the Squires toward the end, I went to, cash my paycheck, and pulled up there to the driving window, and lady handed it back to me and said, sorry, Glenn, we can't cash this check. There's not sufficient funds in the Squire checking. That one stuck out in my mind.
I guarantee you.
I think I eventually ran down and got him to run it back through and got paid, but just
That's incredible. That's wow.
Yeah, but that's what it was like back then because we've had a few players on here that have said that. Or I remember Matt Calvin said he went to the bank while everyone was still messing around on the court. He'd leave practice right away and go straight to the bank.
yeah, Mac. I remember Mac well. He was tough. He was a tough little guy.
Yeah, he said he told us he said that they would always try to give you the check like right before the bank closes.
Well,
Yeah.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do when you're trying to build something, and especially if you don't have deep pockets.
exactly.
Yeah.
But Glenn, a lot of those owners you were talking about, NBA owners, at that time, owning a professional franchise was just a sideline, the tax write-off, because they had other businesses, they had other major things where they made their money from.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't just that team. Now it's not like that, but then they didn't have those luxuries.
Right. One thing that I remember, was talking about how much parity there was to the league. Or we at that time the ABA champions, like in 1971, would play the NBA champions in an exhibition game right before the next season started. So Milwaukee Bucks came to Utah. That would have been in 1972, and at that time they had Oscar, they had Kareem,
Wow.
Bobby Dandridge, John McLaughlin from. So I mean, they had basically the team that had just won the NBA championship. And I mean, I just remember even growing up, Oscar Robertson was everyone's hero. But I remember we played and I was shooting way outside, and he wasn't used to guarding guys out in the 3-point land because the NBA didn't have it. So afterwards, he was like, "You're really complimentary. Hey man, some awesome shots you put up there." But he that was a lot of fun. We played every year during the training camps. We would scrimmage or play. Not really scrimmage because it'd be fans would be there as well. But we'd play some of the NBA teams. And it was always very competitive games. Nobody ever. I don't remember that we didn't beat the Milwaukee Bucks, but we didn't lose by very much.
Awesome.
So
that was Oscar when he was on the twilight of his career after he'd been traded from Cincinnati. But that was a very, very good team.
Oh yeah.
Very good team.
Yeah, it's awesome to be able to say you've been on the floor with those guys, man. That's wow. That's history, total history. I'm gonna say this is gonna go up good when we post this show because we're part of that. Remember the original ABA group on Facebook, and they love when we actually have you guys on the show. So this is like I said, a big honor having you on, bro.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think Ryan got me on that Facebook. Is that the Facebook page where the guy, I've forgotten, but there is a Facebook page on Remembering the ABA. I think that's what, yeah.
Yeah, and we post, whenever we have an ABA guest on, we always post the show up in there so people know, and it goes over well.
Good.
The other thing, Glenn, USA Today is running these articles. I think they've run it every day the month of February in honor of Black History Month.
Yeah,
I did see that. I saw the last one. Well, I've only seen the one, but probably the same one we're talking about. It was just talking pension, the lack of pension between the two, the fact that the NBA wouldn't cover some of those guys, and had fallen on hard times, and the foundation there in Indianapolis is designed to help alleviate that situation. But yeah, I read that article.
Yeah.
My
dropping
situation,
dimes.
Yeah, dropping dimes.
Yeah.
I don't know how it was crazy. Red Robbins was my teammate, and his wife was in the insurance and actuarial business. Now, this is long before. Shortly after we'd all quit playing, but she knew about. There was some pension money in San Antonio. The San Antonio Spurs at that time were kind of the trustee for this pension plan that supposedly the ABA had that was all really kind of murky out there. Nobody knew if there really was a plan or how much money was. They didn't tell the players about it necessarily, but I found out through them. So I went ahead and pushed and inquired about it. And I'll tell you a couple of little financial stories. And so I ended up getting a little money back, not too long after I quit playing. I mean, not much. But then later on, Ron Perry, this is back the last 3 or 4 years, put me in touch with these attorneys out of Indianapolis. And so, I got whatever, supposedly according to them, that I was entitled to. Still, it wasn't a lot of money, but I did get something out of the pension plan. But
That's great.
Another financial thing was when I was playing in Utah, I played for a guy named Bill Daniels that was he owned the team. He was a cable television guy. And when I got traded out there, I was anxious to sign a new contract, which I did. Is mistake. They didn't deal with agents back in those days. If you walked in with an agent, it's like, we're not going to deal with an agent. Now everybody has an agent, of course. But so part of my contract was had some deferred compensation there. And time went on. The owner of the team went into financial hardship, and he said to me one time, I'll never forget. He says, I'm going to pull out of this. When I do, I'm going to pay you the money that I owe you. Let's just say it was $10,000. I don't remember the number, but anyway, fast forward 4 or 5 years after that, I'm in Roanoke, Virginia, in the food brokerage business, and I get this call from Bill Daniels, the owner. He says, I told you that, I was going to clear that matter up with you. Yeah. So I just want you to know you got a, check for $10,000 coming to you in the mail this week. So that was
awesome.
Quite a guy. And I'd kind of written that off as, hey, I'll never see that.
That's the best kind of money to receive, is where you've already written it off.
Exactly.
Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing.
Oh man! Hey, look, guys, we got about 5 more minutes left. Rick, you got anything else you want to throw in real quick?
No, I just say I'm great hearing these stories from Glen, because I know.
Oh, me too.
They're as I said before, never let the truth stand in the way of a good story. But he's telling the truth. These stories are amazing, because that league was nothing like that league, and I think Glen may have mentioned that earlier in the show. All the things that the ABA had, from the All-Star games to the cheerleaders to the three-point line, all those things. The NBA ended up taking.
Yeah.
Right.
Ended up.
Well, I'll tell you too, Rick. That's why I love what I do. I love that we know we can't be like the league was back in the day, but there are a lot of even though the ABA today is totally different, there are a lot of good team owners out there and people that really love what the ABA was standing for, and we all have to do those same things. We have to give our first 2,000 guests free tickets, and stuff like that, to try to, get people to come to the game and watch what's going on, and makes me appreciate even more being able to be part of something that's part of history.
Right.
It's all about promoting. When I was coaching in junior college, we didn't charge admission. I didn't want to charge admission because I didn't want to keep keep people out of our game. So since we weren't charging, I'd always let the first 1,000 people in free.
Yeah, I learned that from you.
And if you bring a friend, we'll let the second 1,000 in free. So our gym would hold about 800. But I'd have people show up and say, man, can we get in? I said, yeah, come on in. Make sure no one, don't tell anybody, but you can come in free.
That's why I love watching that movie Semi-Pro with Will Ferrell.
Oh my God. These sports writers in Roanoke, of course, they're not the Bill Brills of the world, Rick. But,
I'm glad you mentioned that name, Glenn.
Yeah.
That's a name that I remember, Bill Brill.
But they would call me and say, "Hey, Glenn, was the ABA like that?" Will Ferrell movie, and I said, "I think there was a little exaggeration on his part." Some of it was fairly close.
Yeah, but I looked something up, and there was a bear match thing, but it wasn't the head of the team that was fighting the bear.
There were some of those wild, crazy promotions.
It makes me love what we do that much more, man. I'm telling you. Oh God. Well, man, look.
All right, thanks for you guys for having me on.
Yeah, Glenn, it's been more than a pleasure, man, and really, really, I love getting everyone's perspective when we bring people on because it was a different experience depending upon where you were, and it's nice to talk to somebody that actually played for the entire length of the league, so thank you.
Okay, guys, appreciate it. Good talking with you.
Hey, Glenn, we'll end with this. Ron said that he also wanted me to mention to you that all the assists that he got getting you good shots, getting you wide open shots. You never really mentioned that, so I mentioned it for him.
Well, tell him that, and I figured I looked over the situation and I figured the opportunities for success were better with the ball in my hand than his. So, tell him it was an unselfish move on me, but that's, I was looking at the team, but now
you got to dance with who bring you.
All seriousness, he did. He gave me, I used to kind of holler for the ball, and he was always there to throw it to me. So
that's awesome.
A lot of truth there. Ron was not only is he a good friend, but he was a great teammate.
Know your roles.
For my
That's
success.
it, man. And we love having Ron on this show. All right, guys, let's call it a shot. Let's call it there before the buzzer runs out on us. But hey, Glenn, thank you so much, man.
You're welcome, guy. See you later.
All right, guys. Take care.
Appreciate it, Glenn.
Okay.
Thanks, man.
Take care, Rick. All right, guys. Peace.
All right, thanks, Glenn. Thanks, CJ.
All right.
Well.
Sassy B Worldwide Productions. With over 25 years of entertainment experience, we have done it all. Celebrity appearances, red carpet events, image consultation, and branding design. Our clients range from American football stars to Hollywood celebrities and everyone in between. Want to make a splash in the entertainment industry? Then it's time to get sassy. SassyBWorldwide.com.
Well, that's going to do it for this week. Remember, you can keep up with every episode by subscribing via our website. Follow us on social media and tell your friends about us. Next week, new guests, more basketball tips, more basketball stories about the game we all love. Till then, be safe and keep your eyes on the ball.